you've raised a good point there because it comes down to trust, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
has Simon built up enough integrity in your own mind that you trust that what he's producing is real? But then that's a different paradigm for me, because that puts me in the same position that the vestigial media has been in for a long time, that I myself have disrupted, where it's like, okay, can you trust? We can't trust the vestigial media. We know they manipulate stuff. Now, how do you know that you can trust what Simon is producing? And it's
Yeah.
it's right. It comes down to that. The other thing is, there is the temptation to manipulate footage, and I do this, and I should probably make this a little bit clearer, that I have actually recently started doing that. And that is that, like, for my weekly podcast, what I do is I'll rant at the camera, right? But I'm one of those people who's not particularly good in front of the camera. I tend to stumble a lot, and I often I might stutter my words or something like that. And what I can do when I'm editing a clip out for subsequent publication is I can trim out where I have stuttered, but I can also adjust. I can use AI to smooth out, so that the fact that cut has happened, and that there's a jump in, like, my facial position or my hand position or something like that, is not apparent to the audience. So
Yeah.
there's an ethical question there too, because this is not like I'm taking out just a stutter. It's not significant to the narrative, but in point of fact, the base actuality is that I have used AI to manipulate what actually happened from the clip. Now, why I'm personally comfortable with that is because I'm linking to the original. So you'll get like a 30-second clip of me talking about an issue, but there'll also be a link to the original as I said it at the time, if you are particularly interested. And that kind of fits my ethical boundaries of where I can get away with using AI, because I'm using it to create content which is a little bit easier for the audience to consume without actually misleading them.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think the way I would describe it is that you're not manipulating the video. What you are doing is you're doing post production edit.
Yes.
You're just fixing some of the stutters, and you're skipping the R's and the O's and the silences, right? What manipulating would be is you recording a video on CBD saying, illegal immigrant raping a 12-year-old on the street, or beating somebody, and you're using AI to create that scene, right?
Yeah.
And then you're posting that to cause this outrage, and all of a sudden everybody hates that group of race because Simon manipulated a video and put it out there for the intention for rage baiting, right? So there's a lot of videos like that I see online, which I'm like, that's not cool. That's not good. Let's not do that, because people are doing that on purpose. And that's why now we have Elon Musk doing this whole transparency thing about users on X in terms of where their locations are. And you see all these massive mega accounts. They're not based in the US. They're in Bangkok, Bali, Brazil, Mexico. And you're like, what's going on? So that's where I think it's yes. These lines are always going to move, right? These lines are always going to move, and I think if you use AI for edits and simple things, I think that's okay. But if you're using it to really try and spread lies and fake stories, then it's going to get to a point where people are not going to be happy with that.
I agree, and you raised another a really good point, and that is about the live footage. So what I've been doing for, like, with the hyperlocal news content that I produce, as you say, like, people know me from the from the Albert Park footage that hundreds of millions of people watched that, but there's been some other stuff that's been really, really prominent as well. Like I filmed a demonstration in July, and nearly, I think it's about 2.5 million people on my own social media channels have watched that clip, and millions and millions more from other people have grabbed it and published it as their own, and so on, as they do, and as things sort of filter around on the internet. But what I've sort of been able to do is to really rapidly film some footage, and turn it around very, very quickly. So I typically I'm filming with my 360 camera, and I'll get whatever shots I'm going to do of the demonstration. Normally, most often it's demonstrations, but it could be anything that it's around and about. It could be, interviewing someone involved in a court case, or something interesting that's happening in my immediate vicinity. But I can turn that around really rapidly. So from my 360 camera to an edit to publication happens within about maybe an hour to an hour and a half. And this has annoyed the hell out of the established vestigial media outlets over the last sort of 2 years, where like they'll be looking to catch Golriz Garriman, for example, coming out of Auckland District Court when she's just been convicted for shoplifting, right? And I'm there as well, and all of the TV1 people, the TV3 people, all of the New Zealand Herald stuff, whoever, they all know that by the time they've edited the footage and got it to their audiences, it will essentially be a replay, because 4 or 5 hours before they manage to do that, I've already published it, and everyone who's interested in New Zealand has seen it on social media in one form or another before those established media outlets have the opportunity to put their spin on it and present it at the 6 o'clock news. Now, I think that I might change that. I think that because AI makes it AI with live footage is a lot more difficult to fake. So I think in terms of obtaining that authenticity, what I might be inclined to do when I'm filming at a demonstration is, rather than doing that with a 360 camera, like I'll still do that too, but I'll also live stream from another camera. So it's like, okay, here's me, here's some other photographers that are also here. If you want, like in terms of trying to proof that this is real, doing live streams from more than one person is about as authentic as I can possibly present it to the audience. So I think I need to start doing that a bit more.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's about the next 2 years. I think it's about being original, being building a solid foundation around how do you monetize your content, how do you protect your IP, how do you protect your copyrights, being much more harsher and harder on that, and finding platforms where your content is well protected and it's very much trusted, and it's protected against people who can attack you. There's a lot of gatekeeping groyper fights going on Twitter between, especially in America, with, there's a huge division on the right. You have a group of like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and, Megyn Kelly, and then there's a group of Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee, and then there is Matt Walsh and Laura Loomer, and they're all like fighting each other, and they're trying to control as to who is the gatekeeper and who all owns the truth. So I think I think you kind of do that with the mainstream media when they're on the street and they're editing and you're capturing, and I'm sure you're thinking about, how do I get the angles that work the best, and compared to them getting the angles that they can manipulate and hide what they want to hide. So I'm sure you're doing that at the same time. And I should also say that I think in the next 2 years, my feedback that I'm getting, a lot of people, my viewership is going up with podcasting. And in New Zealand, it's going up as well. Not as rapidly as the American one's going up. But I feel in the next 2 years, because there is so much information and misinformation on social media, I think a lot more people are going to tune into podcasts and really get to listen to two people try and break things down, like we will do today, about lots of different stories of this year, video stories and satirically real stories that people are using to manipulate things, which we will do in this show, which I'm very excited about. I feel that podcasting in the next 2 years is just going to grow. So anything human anything that we can keep very human and very authentic and very real, and try to get to the truth without compromising the truth, I think it's going to be the real winner.
Oh, I hope you're right. Because what I really like about it is, because there's always something to be learnt from conversations, and I like that. Like, I think the best Simon TV episodes are the ones where I do have a guest on. Guests normally talk to me for about 75 to 90 minutes, and really it's all about them, because that's the part that's very, very interesting. So I do hope that there is more consumption of that, because I also think it's very, very democratizing. I think it's fantastic when people who otherwise wouldn't be given a platform are afforded the opportunity to have their say. Like, there's a lot of people out there who have a really significant contribution to make to our national discourse, who simply aren't listened to. And you see this particularly in the vestigial media, where they keep going to the same voices again and again and again, and often those voices are severely misinformed. A good example is like a Susie Wiles. You remember Susie Wiles was the go-to person throughout the pandemic for comment from the media, and effectively, all she was a far left mouthpiece for the Ardern regime, using the fig leaf of a barely related scientific qualification to push Ardernist propaganda. Now, in contrast to that is something like Adnan Belushi, who is putting people on his show who aren't the go-to person for the mainstream media, but do have a worthwhile contribution to make to that particular discussion.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about. Like, I it's really about talking to people that are interesting for me. I have this genuine curiosity about people, and I'm very open-minded, and I think a lot of the people that don't want to come on my show, they've kind of canceled themselves, so I'm cool with that. And I do go through phases where I feel like mainstream media is yuck, and I don't want to have any politicians on my show, and councils are absolute fucking cunts, stay away from me, like, I go through those phases, and then I'm like, oh, I can be much nicer today, and bring them in, and, open it all up, and, have some guests that, you might not like, but, just do it for the fans, and do it for the sake of being a good journalist, and do the media bit, and so I kind of I go through those phases.